GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man Jay Rich.
Is that yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? Let's get it! GMG damn P. It is Wednesday, hump day, October 16th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with me and Jay, and I appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear, each and every view that we get. Thank y'all for waking up with us this morning. What's going down with you? Jimbo Joe, what's going down? My girl, Leo Scott, Marlon in the building, Cold World TDE in the building, Hunter Joe Green, Jeff Math. Man, it's a lot of folks. I saw my dog Marcus, Toronto Dave, cash me out. What's happening, baby? What's happening, Alex C? What's going down? Trades like crazy. Week 7 of the NFL season, man. You know, Jay, I'm sitting back. We're like halfway through the fantasy football regular season, dog. We spent all this time in the summer prepping, doing all this stuff, and Jay, it's already shit, man. It's halfway through. Jay, how you doing this morning, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, you know, we were talking about it this week, even potentially doing a first half recap. We're going to end up doing that next Wednesday. So we decided to do the 32 stats or takeaways from all these NFL teams, just talking about what we've been seeing. You know, there's so much week to week analysis, but there's also a lot of things going on in the macro as well. But trades galore. I hope you've been good, my friend, because you have some big stuff tonight as well that people should be excited for. But the NFL's flying right now. The trade deadline's still 2 weeks away. I believe it's still 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
And there's already tons of action, Ray. It feels like we're in an NBA season right now with how many trades there are going on.
It's NBA preseason, but the NFL is definitely heated up. And you alluded to something tonight. We do have a special show for everybody this evening. I know we're all trying to chase it, find it, and y'all trust it. Trinity Live. We're going to run that tonight. Myself and two of the three members from the Trades and Five crew, Scott Connor and Shane Manillo, will be joining me live tonight on the channel. Jay, I believe it's 8:30 Eastern time is when the show kicks off.
8:30 Eastern time, yeah. Unless there's a time change. But for now, it's 8:30 Eastern.
I know. 8:30 Eastern, Trinity Report Live. Little twist to it. Shane and Scott are going to join me, and they're going to talk about some actionable dynasty trades that we can make using some of this usage data. And also make sure you check out Dynasty Theory, who dropped content on the channel yesterday. 5 players to buy now. And yes, Joe, that is your boy T. Higgins on the thumbnail. You don't see sell, you see buy. A lot of people out there, Jay, see all the people, all the content creators putting the sell Patrick Mahomes video out now. We had that shit 3 weeks ago. Shout out to Dynasty Theory, man. We had that 3 weeks ago, get out of Patrick Mahomes. But go check out T. Higgins. Go check out that video. And 2025 stuff, baby. 2025 Rookie Mock Draft dropped on the channel Monday night. We're going to do this every single Monday, Mock Mondays. 2025 Rookie Class. It's time, Jay. Halfway through the fantasy football regular season, it is time to get the 25 class popping. A lot of risers. Big faller. Ollie Gordon, my top dog, all the way damn near outside the top 10 running backs. Jay tumbled all the way down the board. But check that out and subscribe to the channel for more content. Jay, anything I missed?
No, I think you hit it all, man. It's a big week for content for us. A lot of big things on the channel, but I would highly encourage everyone to check out the Trinity show that is live tonight. This is paywalled content weekly that we are bringing to you for free. So make sure if there's a show that you check out, this is definitely the one, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of valuable information and hidden insights that you guys don't get weekly. So make sure you tune into this live show tonight, or if you're listening to this later on, it is on Wednesday, and check it out either on the podcast feed where I will post it later, or you can catch it on replay here on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I think, Ray, we can quickly get to the news because we do have a massive show on tap today.
Before we get to the news, hey, the people said they wanted it, man. Let's bring you in the right way, Jay. Let's get to the news real quick, baby. Let's go back to a throwback. Run it, straight facts.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
That's right. Brought me in the right way, Ray. I appreciate it. And only fitting for such a big show, big news segment we have today. Two big trades and one potentially big trade. But starting off with Amari Cooper, who was traded from the Browns to the Buffalo Bills. We know the struggles of Deshaun Watson. We know that Josh Allen has also been struggling, especially getting the ball down the field. But now he has a new number one wide receiver in Amari Cooper. Ray, I don't mean to dig it in at all to you, but they did get a third rounder and a pick swap, which was more than the Dallas Cowboys got for Amari Cooper 3 years ago. Amari Cooper leads the NFL with 473 air yards on incomplete targets, which is number one in the NFL. And the big reason why we like that is because he's getting open down the field. He's getting targeted, but they're inaccurate. Josh Allen will definitely improve that, and we know the struggles they've had moving the ball. So Amari Cooper to Buffalo, one of the two big moves. We also got the final domino for the New York Jets. Davante Adams, Ray, finally traded to the New York Jets. Thank God, because we've been waiting for this to happen for what feels like weeks, and depending on how long you've been looking, even months. Rodgers blamed Mike Williams for the interception. Now, to be fair to him, it sounded like it was Mike Williams' fault when you watch some of the breakdowns on the play. Emmanuel Acho did do a great one on that play based off some of the language that Rodgers gave up in his post-game presser. But Davante Adams now on the Jets. Everyone's calling for the end of Garrett Wilson. Allen Lazard, I'm sure we'll see plenty of targets. But the biggest thing here is how good will Rodgers be? How good will Adams be? And I think everyone's asking now what happens with Garrett Wilson. Last but not least, Cam Akers was traded back to the Minnesota Vikings. This is only relevant because of Aaron Jones.
I didn't even know this.
You didn't see this, eh? So it was basically a conditional pick swap. So now for anyone who didn't watch the game this week, both Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce are back. And for anyone who wasn't watching the game in London, Aaron Jones got hurt in that game. I believe it was a hip injury, but the Minnesota Vikings were on bye. So they didn't need to address this need quite yet. But I think signing Cam Akers tells you that Aaron Jones is probably going to be out for a little bit. I believe he is week to week right now. And so with them trading for Cam Akers, is he going to see the majority of volume? That's kind of the biggest question, because we've seen him get opportunities in this offense before and looked pretty good. That's what helped him get the job in Houston. But they obviously decided not to re-sign him and went with Ty Chandler instead. Now, Ty Chandler fumbled one of his first snaps in London, and that led to a score on the other end for the Jets. So I'm not sure whether this means Cam Akers is starting or not, but considering they traded for him to bring him in instead of just starting Ty Chandler and other depth pieces, I think it's a pretty good indication that Cam Akers could see some opportunities in this Minnesota Vikings offense that we know is pretty good. And last but not least, Ray, I don't know why, but the Pittsburgh Steelers apparently are turning to Russell Wilson for Week 7.
A lot of news, but we've got a lot of content to get through, and I'm sure we will touch on every piece of that news throughout this show. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to the stream, we have a good time. It's early in the damn morning. You probably still got crust in your eye, so get you some coffee, hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel. We're going to go through all 32 teams and not so much dig into every single fact, but some fantasy football takeaways that we need to start. There's no more time to wait and see. I need a couple of more weeks of data. I need a couple of more weeks to figure it out. No. We're at this point now, folks. We're in our leagues. You got to make a damn bet. You got to pick a direction, make a move, have the conviction, and sort of live with whatever the result is. So let's talk about it, Jay. Let's talk about it, and let's start out with the AFC East. We'll start off with the AFC East, and I do want to start off talking about the New York Jets and this situation because this is one prior to the trade happening. I was not really interested in Davante Adams to the Jets. I just was not, and understand what was going on at the time. It was Nathaniel Hackett and Robert Saleh. And you looked at that offense during that time, and it was horrendous. And I still don't know if the offense is particularly good. But here's what happened in Week 6, and I'm going to put this out here for the people, and y'all let me know what you think the outcome is going to be. Everyone's trying to figure out what the distribution is going to look like in New York. I've pulled up our Trinity tracker. It is the best usage tool in fantasy football. Very good visual representation on how teams are using individual pass catchers. Let's take tight ends off the screen and just look at the wide receivers, Jay Rich, from week 6, right? Just look at the receivers. Put the tight ends back on the screen. You got Garrett Wilson, 8-4 score, 24 points. Allen Lazard, 8-7, 23 points. So in this new look offense, the first week without Robert Saleh, you got Ulbrich there, the new play caller.
Todd Downing calling plays.
Yeah, Todd Downing calling plays. You had 2 guys utilized heavily. Now, they tried to get Mike Williams involved, and had he caught a couple of his passes, he might have ended up in this range right here. But when I look at this new offensive environment change, Jay, it gives me a little bit of hope that if this is what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, just hyper-target 2 guys, Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams, that both of those guys can be successful inside of this new-look offense. I still would like to see, but it is week 6. So I'm going to trust the fact that in this first week sample size, we saw Aaron Rodgers hyper-target 2 guys. We know Davante Adams is going to get his, and I don't believe Garrett Wilson is going to go away. So while I don't know if those guys are going to be 8-5 guys every single week, I do think that this kind of chart and this sort of distribution could be something we could look forward to when it comes to the Jets. Anything that you want to say to that quickly?
I think it's just tough, like you're talking about, because Lazard's probably not going to go away, and we know that Adams will work in. So can you take this 2-man split into a 3-man split, and it's still useful for fantasy? That's kind of the biggest question. And then, of course, everyone's wondering, Ray, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, who do you think is the quote-unquote alpha, that number 1 target in the offense? Would you bet it's going to be Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, or maybe, for heaven's sake, Allen Lazard?
Yeah, I think it will be Davante Adams. But again, whether you're the primary or the secondary option, look at Cincinnati, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They are not mutually exclusive that you can only have one and they be usable for fantasy. What I'm hoping is what we saw versus the Bills in week 6 with Todd Downing calling plays, having 2 guys heavily utilized on the outside. That's the trend that continues. You're right. Allen Lazard doesn't go away. So we're looking at maybe one of these not so efficient, maybe not as exciting offenses like San Francisco, where you got 3 wide receivers that you're probably going to roll out every week. Juwan Jennings being that Allen Lazard, fly, gnat, bugaboo that's just kind of in the way of Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. That might be what we're looking at here with Allen Lazard being that bugaboo for Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams. I want to stay inside the AFC East, though, Jay, and talk about some other takeaways. Miami Dolphins. My big takeaway for the Miami Dolphins heading into week 7 is this might be an opportunity to buy the forgotten stars. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane. The Dolphins have been so incredibly bad, Jay. They've been awful, just downright disgusting since Tua got injured, but he's coming back. And they've already said Tua is going to come back. Waddle has been unplayable. Tyreek has been damn near unplayable. I don't know which running back is healthy, but it's going to be very interesting to see how everyone's healthy and they return to full strength once Tua is back. So if I were looking at this conference and thinking, what is a move to make today going into week 7? Maybe it's a chance to buy low on one of these Miami Dolphins pass catchers or pieces of their offense. Moving on to the New England Patriots, Jay, my big takeaway from New England is Drake May. I really do believe that as the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots, even though it doesn't look like the counting stats at the end of the day, he had a bunch of interceptions, wasn't good when he was pressured. When he did not have pressure, he was 12 for 18 for 162 yards and 3 touchdowns, had 1 interception. He's going to continue to target Pop Douglas, who will be a thing inside this offense. So for the time being, if you have to have like a desperation play, Jay, we're kind of throwing these Gardner Minshew's out there.
Oh, yeah.
Will
Talk
Levis,
to me, Ray.
let me plug him in. I would be just fine and comfortable plugging in Drake May, did it in the Scott Fish Bowl, and everything was fine. I'd be just fine plugging in Drake May. And then finally, final team in the AFC East, my big takeaway, yes, we talked about the trade of Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. This is very much needed for Buffalo. And what's interesting is Josh Allen is still second in the NFL in EPA per dropback while being tied with Jordan Love for 7th in average depth of target, Jay. This is all without a wide receiver on the outside. Understand that again. Josh Allen is second in the NFL in EPA per dropback while being tied with Jordan Love, seventh in the NFL in average depth of target. So he is pushing the ball downfield. He is being efficient when they throw the ball. They just don't have a guy on the outside to consistently win week in and week out. He has one now, Jay Rich. He's got one now. This is a good move for Buffalo Bills. It's a good move for Amari Cooper. Those are my takeaways from the AFC East. Anything you want to add to this?
I just want to give you a shout out for shouting out Drake May. I believe he was also 6 for 6 on play action with 2 touchdowns. I mean, it really just comes down to they need playmakers on this team, and May definitely showed fairly well in that first start. The Miami Dolphins, that's actually really good advice because you look at them last season with Tua, they were great, but this year they are historically bad, and it's shocking just truly how bad this team is without Tua. And obviously the Buffalo Bills, they desperately needed Josh Allen to have a wide receiver one, but even without that, he's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL. They are currently, I believe, third in the NFL in EPA per play on third and fourth down, which is insane given their lack of pass catching options. It's Khalil Shakir, who I believe heading into week 6, Josh Allen had a perfect passer rating when targeting Khalil Shakir. That's how good he's been. But I think that's it for the AFC East. So I can move on to the NFC East because
real quick. Let's hit the comments real quick, Jay. A couple of comments. Jeff wants to know, is Pop Douglas the wide receiver one, or can Polk make a push? I'm not going to. If you look at Pop's score and usage last year, especially towards the end, it signified that he was probably pretty damn good. And when the New England Patriots started the season off, Jacoby Brissett was pretty damn bad. So if I had to pick between Pop Douglas and Jalen Polk, it would 1,000% be DeMario Pop Douglas in that offense. Yes.
Yeah, Ray, I'm with you 100%. And I believe it was Scott Barrett who tweeted out that like Jalen Polk is one of the least efficient wide receivers in the NFL right now. He's not been very good, even though he didn't have that touchdown called back. Part of it is Jacoby Brissett, but even considering the bad quarterback play, he still hasn't been playing at a very high level overall. So I'm with you. It would have to be Pop Douglas. But let's move to the NFC East, where there's really only 2 teams to talk about, because when you're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants, they're kind of just average. You know, they're fine offenses. They're fine defenses. When you talk about the Eagles in particular, the issue is still the passing game. They have the 7th worst EPA per dropback against defending the pass, and they are playing the New York Giants this week. And then the other concern when you talk about the Eagles is that the rushing defense hasn't been as good as it's been in years past. So it's not just that the offense is struggling. I do think they will be fine overall. They're about neutral when you look at the efficiency metrics for both Jalen Hurts and the offense as a whole. But defensively, they are still bad on a per drop back basis. And I don't think that's going to change this week against the Giants. And the bigger thing with the Giants, Ray, the most concerning part probably for them overall is that Daniel Jones has actually got off to hot starts. He's top 10 in the NFL in EPA per play in the first half, but in the second half, he drops all the way down to 28th in the NFL. And so the biggest thing here is when you're talking about teams that start hot and play well, I think the Giants can do that against the Eagles. The question is, can they continue that through the entire game? Daniel Jones hasn't really showed that, but I think based on how the Eagles have struggled this year, both offensively and defensively, I would not be shocked if the Giants got out to a lead in the first half, and I'd be willing to bet them for a first half spread because they're probably going to be leading at the end of this first half. In terms of fantasy takeaways for this game, it's very neutral. You'll start Saquon Barkley, you'll start A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and if you really want to start a receiver outside of Malik Neighbors, you probably could potentially stand a Darius Slayton, hoping he catches a big play, and potentially Daniel Jones as a flex option as well. But outside of that, these 2 teams, there's not a whole lot to talk about. So let's get to the more exciting teams in the NFC East. Let's start with the Washington Commanders, because for people who haven't been paying attention, this is literally the best offense in the league, and it's not even particularly close. The Commanders and Jaden Daniels are the most efficient on a per-play basis with a 0.244 EPA per play. The next closest is the Baltimore Ravens at 0.179. And Ray, I don't know if you knew this, but heading into week 6 before they played Baltimore, who has a top 3 defense in the NFL, they were leading in both passing dropback EPA and rushing EPA.
Crazy.
Both individually and, of course, collectively as well. And then Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are also first in EPA per play on 3rd and 4th down, twice as good, Ray, as the 2nd-rated Texans right now. So not only are they getting it done consistently, they're also absolutely smashing on 3rd and 4th down. This team is humming at a different level compared to all teams in the NFL, not just for rookie quarterbacks, where he's arguably the most efficient rookie quarterback we've ever seen, and this offense, one of the most efficient we've ever seen. Jaden Daniels is smashing right now. Ray, do you have anything else to say about the Washington Commanders?
No, sir. Keep it rolling.
All right, so now we can get to the fun part, talking about your Cowboys defense, which, again, they've been pretty bad this year, Ray, but I don't know if you know just how bad they've been. The Cowboys' rushing defense is currently the worst in recorded history, with an EPA per play of 0.13 through 6 weeks. The closest for an entire season is the 2019 Carolina Panthers, who gave up nearly 2,300 yards and 31 touchdowns in 16 games on the ground. And that rushing EPA was only a .066, which is comparable to the Cincinnati Bengals right now. So your Cowboys are historically twice as bad defending the rush as any team in NFL history, potentially, but this data goes back to at least 2018. Ray, defend your Cowboys and defend why anybody should not start a running back against the Dallas Cowboys.
You start everybody against Dallas. Defense is terrible. Defense is terrible. The offense can't move the ball. They have no running game. They're a one-dimensional team with a delusional owner and a pathetic head coach. I would start everybody against the Dallas Cowboys, and I mean everybody. Hell, I'd probably start the backup running back, because there's a good chance they score so many damn points, they pull the ones off the field by the 3rd quarter and just let the backups get the run in the 4th, and they'll probably garbage time their way to your fantasy rosters. I've got nothing to defend. The team is not good. There's no DeMarcus Lawrence. There's no Micah Parsons. Deron Bland's still not back. Hopefully he comes back after bye. This is not good. This is not good. Fire up all your offensive weapons against the Dallas Cowboys with full confidence, and we can move on to the next division, which is the AFC North. We'll talk about the AFC North, and you alluded to and talked about the news at the beginning of the show. Jay, Russell Wilson looks like he is going to be in line to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. All I have in the show sheet is hold on to your butts. I tried real hard, Jay, to find some positivity to bring to the table for the Pittsburgh pass catchers with Russell Wilson taking over. I'm looking at Trinity score from weeks 15 through 17 last year, 1 through 2, trying to find some good pockets of Russell Wilson play to make me feel good. Make me feel good. You seen the movie, Billy Bob Thornton, Halle Berry? If you didn't, a little too early for that. I was trying to feel good about this situation, and I just can't. Jay, I can't. Justin Fields right now is playing really good football, so I don't know why they're pulling him off the field. I don't get it. Hold on to your butts is the only note that I have for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in Week 7. I do want to talk about the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to give a little positivity to Cleveland because Deshaun Watson leaves us little to be excited about. But are we going to get Nick Chubb this week? And if we do, Jay, I'm no doctor, and all the Twitter medical analysts tell me you do not play a running back coming off of a devastating knee injury week 1 of their return. I don't give a damn, Jay. I just got to play him. There's nobody else. There is nobody else. And I'm telling y'all right now, without Amari Cooper, there is not a pass catcher outside of David Njoku I would ever start on Cleveland. 0. No Judy, no Elijah Moore. Don't get stupid and crazy and try to put Cedric Tillman in your lineup. The answer is hell to the no. It's David Njoku, and I am going to play Nick Chubb. Like, I'm just going to play him. I'll do my ranking show with Josh Norris later. We're going to go through the running back position. He's going to be a top 24 running back on the week for me. So the Cleveland Browns, my big takeaway is fade the hell out of those pass catchers. And here's a little note to that, Jay. Here's why you should stay far away from the pass catchers in Cleveland. You talked about Amari Cooper's air yards and how many yards he had, uncatchable yards. He had 21 off-target targets with the Browns this season, the most for a receiver in his team's first 6 games since 2016 when Mike Evans had 24. Jay, that's almost 10 damn years ago. That's almost 10 damn years ago. No receiver has seen as many off-target targets as Amari Cooper. 2016 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't even know who the quarterback was. Josh
Probably
Freeman,
Jameis, right?
I don't know who. I have no clue.
Yeah.
It wasn't Freeman, but I don't know who it was. But that's the last time a receiver's had this dog shit quality of targets from their quarterback. So no, you do not want to play any of the Cleveland Browns. And then let's go to that juggernaut team, the Baltimore Ravens. Jay? They're good, man. These Baltimore Ravens are great. Number 2 in EPA per play. Number 2 in offensive success rate. Number 3 in EPA per dropback. Number 2 in rushing EPA. Number 1 in total yards per game. Number 1 in rushing yards per game. 8th in passing yards per game. Baltimore's offense, Jay Rich, has totaled 2,722 yards, the most in the NFL and the most after 6 games in franchise history. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry have combined for 1,107 rushing yards through the first 6 games of the season, the most by any QB running back duo since the 1950s and damn Jim Brown with the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens are dope. Lamar Jackson feels like he's en route to his 3rd MVP. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game at his position, and the Ravens are unstoppable. What else you got? Oh, Cincinnati. Wait, what division am I in? Do I got the
You are
got the
in the
Bengals?
AFC North. You got the Bengals.
I forgot Cincy, baby. I forgot Cincy. And Cincy, what are they? Like 2-5, 2-4 on the season?
2-4.
2-4 on the season. But make no mistake about it, Joe Burrow is playing very, very good football. And had they not lost 4 games, he might be one of the players as a front runner for league MVP. He's got T. Higgins cooking. The Dynasty Theory cats are talking about buying T. Higgins. And Jamar Chase, despite a down season, Jay, he's still being productive for us from a fantasy perspective. And by down, I just mean his target numbers are a little lower this year. It's the first time they've been this low. Targets per route run, target share, not over 25%. But they're still getting it done offensively. And hopefully once they stop playing around with these running backs, commit to one back, get this offense clicking with T. Higgins, that things will improve for Jamar Chase. But offensively, Burrow and the Bengals still very, very good. Any other takeaways from the AFC North, Jay?
Yeah, probably the funniest stat out there right now, and I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, Ray, anyone else seen on Twitter, I'm pretty sure that Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than Will Levis has passing yards this season, which is by far one of the craziest stats in the league right now.
But
like
when I'm going through Baltimore, Jay, the biggest thing for me that's standing out and it gets you excited about what this offense can do down the line is I was told Lamar can't throw the damn ball. I was told he can't throw the ball, and he's been one of the best passers in the NFL this year. And I saw a tweet, and I don't want to steal it and take the credit from the individual. I forgot who it was, but basically he said the most impressive thing that he has noticed about the Ravens this year is the lack of negative plays Lamar Jackson has taken. A lot of times in the past, he dropped back, drift in the pocket, gets sacked, a lot of bad down and distance situations. He's not doing that this year. I believe his sack rate last year was like 7.5%, and it's down to like 3.8 this year. So he's taken a lot less negative plays this year, and that's really helping this Ravens offense grow, despite the fact that they're starting a rookie on their offensive front, despite the fact that they don't have what looks like these alpha-type wide receivers. Fantasy-wise, I am very much in on Zay Flowers. I saw a hypothetical trade today with DeAndre Hopkins going to the Ravens. I think that would be nice as well to help Lamar Jackson out. But I'm all in on this offense. Lamar is dope. Henry's doing exactly what we thought he would do, and Zay Flowers is emerging as a true wide receiver 1 for the Ravens.
Yeah, you hit on it, right? Sack rate is at 2.38%, and success rate is second in the NFL at 52.6%. So like you mentioned, those lack of negative plays help success rate, and the lack of sacks also helps him quite a bit as well. So Lamar Jackson definitely getting it done both for fantasy and, of course, in real life. It's honestly unthinkable that this team lost to the Raiders because the Raiders are so bad.
We got to go back and see what happened that game. What the hell happened that game, man? What happened?
The Ravens, like a lot of teams, take their foot off the gas in the second half, and they let teams back in games. And when you look at metrics for the Ravens defense, their second half EPA per play is the worst in the NFL. Now, they're usually up to big leads, but these things happen. Now, let's move to the NFC North because the NFC North is arguably the most...
Let's go to break first. Let's run because the NFC North is probably the best takeaway conversation division that we have left. Probably. So let's take a break, run the likes up, hit that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe to the channel, like. We'll be back right after this. Well, not yet. Not yet, because I got to move it up here, but we'll be back now after this. Appreciate y'all being in on this Wednesday, waking up with me and my boy Jay Rich. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like the content, and check out all the other dope content on the channel. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Dynasty Theory, 5 players to buy now. You see T. Higgins on the thumbnail cover. Make sure you tap in to Dan, Mitch, and John Bauer. Also, rookie stuff. I dropped a rookie mock Mondays on Monday, 2025 rookie mock, risers and fallers. The one-on-one is set. There's no doubt. There is, I don't care the format. I don't care league scoring. The one-on-one and all fantasy football rookie drafts has been set, locked, signed, sealed, and delivered. Y'all know who it is. We're going back to the running back well. And tonight at 8:30 Eastern, myself, Scott, Connor, and Shane, wide receiver, tight end usage, Trinity Report live on the channel. Make sure you pull up. Immediately following that, we'll be inside the Discord, and we'll do like another private Q&A with the patrons in the community. Go to ddfantasyfootball.com or patreon.com/ALLGAS to join the squad. All right, Jay, now we can roll into it. NFC North, let's get it, baby.
Yeah, the NFC North is easily the most exciting division in football right now. And just a stat on the NFC North in general, if you haven't seen this yet, I forget who actually pulled it, but the NFC North, Ray, is currently leading all of the NFL in point differential. And I don't mean just as a division, because they are leading as a division, but they are literally ranked 1 through 4 in point differential in the NFL, and all 4 of these teams are in the top 10 in EPA per play on defense, which is ridiculous for how good all these teams are and how good this division is. Easily one of the most competitive this year. And someone said in the chat already, this team may have all 4 of them in the playoffs. Seems very unlikely. But the way that even Caleb Williams and the Bears are playing, it is looking phenomenal. So let's talk about some of these defenses, because I think the Green Bay Packers in particular are a team that everyone talks about the offense. Everyone wants to know about the offense. Is it Jaden Reed? Is it Dontavian Wicks, who it's not anymore? Is it Romeo Doubs? But the defense is really what should be surprising people. This team is tops in the NFL in turnover differential, and they're 7th in EPA per play allowed. And the reason why I wanted to bring up the defense is because you don't think about how good their rush defense is, and you probably shouldn't be starting your running backs against the Green Bay Packers. They are only behind these teams in EPA per play for running the ball. The Los Angeles Chargers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Minnesota Vikings, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Tennessee Titans. We talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and how great their team is against the running back position, but the Green Bay Packers are actually better. And so when you're talking about attacking this defense in particular, you want to target pass catchers where they're more neutral in terms of their effectiveness, stopping those players, but against the run, they're fairly stout. And so for me, I would just keep that in mind when you're starting fringe RB2s against the Packers. It's probably not a great bet because they have been very, very good. And in particular, they're also leading the league in forced fumbles this year with 8. So this team is flying. They have a high turnover differential. They have 17 total turnovers, 9 interceptions, 8 forced fumbles. So this team is very, very good at turning players over, whether it's quarterbacks or running backs. And so just keep that in mind when you're starting running backs against the Packers. I think it's one of the more notable stats. Offensively, they've been okay. If you look at Malik Willis's EPA numbers, they're actually 2nd in the NFL on a per touch basis, which is insane. But we'll move on to the Lions, where I don't have much other than they're just a good team. Like, there's not anything the Lions do spectacularly, or there's anything you should avoid from a fantasy perspective. They're just a very, very good offense, top 10 defense. With Aiden Hutchinson being gone, maybe their pass rush goes down a little bit, but I still expect this team to be firing at all cylinders. But Ray, let's talk about your boy, the Chicago Bears, and I will give you credit because you pulled this stat for me. The past 3 games, the Bears have had a top 10 passing unit and top 15 rushing, while Caleb Williams is 3rd in EPA per dropback over the past 3 games. And I think when you look at all 3 rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams, ever since week 3, they've been playing much better football. We know that it takes time to acclimate to the NFL, and you've seen it even with Jaden Daniels, who struggled week 1, but has been great ever since, and Caleb Williams, who in particular has been really good the past 3 weeks. Now, with Caleb, it's tougher because we know he hasn't been playing good defenses. Right. I believe it's Tennessee, Carolina, and now Jacksonville, who is literally the worst pass defense in the NFL. But I think the bigger point is he's building confidence, he's speeding up his processing, and he's getting the ball out much quicker, taking fewer sacks. The running game is more effective, and it's becoming a more balanced offense. And the last piece on Caleb Williams, I believe the only rookie quarterback in history to go 4-2 as the first overall pick. So Caleb Williams off to a historic start as well in his own right. And Ray, maybe there could be a case that he could potentially win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I will not make that case. And then the last one is, of course, the Minnesota Vikings. The offense is a little bit concerning for me personally, but the defense is still top 3 in dropback EPA and rushing EPA on defense, the only team that is in the top 3 for both. The bigger concern, Ray, and I brought this up to you privately, I believe on Monday, is for whatever reason, Sam Darnold is not good in the second half. He's 13th in the NFL in EPA per play for a full game, but in the second half, he is 27th, which for certain quarterbacks may not be as big of a deal, but for Sam Darnold, definitely feels a little bit concerning, especially with Aaron Jones going out. It's not that I don't trust this offense. I love the offense, but with Aaron Jones going down and potentially missing some time, let's see how Sam Darnold adjusts, because he has a very difficult test in the Detroit Lions this week, Ray. So do you have any other thoughts on the NFC North? Easily one of the most fun divisions to watch in football, whether it's the Vikings, the Lions, the Bears, or of course the Green Bay Packers, a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, I think what you nailed and what you touched on with the Bears and Caleb Williams is really cool to see play out, because it was a little bit of a rocky start for him, which should have been expected. Not everybody's going to hit the ground running and looking lights out right off the bat. But the last 3-4 weeks, he has definitely stacked weeks on top of one another. The last 2 games in particular, he's number 1 in the NFL in EPA per dropback. Number 1. Better than Jaden Daniels, better than Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson over the past 2 games. You can only play who your schedule puts you up against. He could go out there and look like shit against some of those teams, and we've seen quarterbacks do that. There's a lot of reason to be really excited in Chicago right now. DeAndre Swift is playing well. I think one of the biggest revelations outside that passing attack is how rock solid of a tight end Cole Kmet looks now. I mean, he looks like the guy that, like the Bears got to steal when they gave him that contract extension, the way that he looked on Sunday. So hopefully with Gerald Everett out of the way, we get more Cole Kmet. Want to continue to see Caleb Williams progress. And it is a little concerning about the Sam Darnold second half, because you look at Minnesota and that defense is so great. The offense has played well. But every second half, it is kind of they're in scramble mode to hold on. So it'll be interesting to see how they look coming off of their bye. I don't know who they play this week, but nice little
Detroit. Pull. And someone asked Goff or Darnold this week. I think it's probably Darnold, because
Darnold.
that passing defense for Minnesota is too good.
The Detroit pass rush was not – I mean, their defense was already like 21st, I think, at defending the pass, and now you lose Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, I would start Sam Darnold against Detroit, whether it's home or away in that one. I would not want to fool around with Jared Goff versus Brian Flores. All right, Jay, got to move on to the AFC South. Let's go AFC South. Talk about the Texans, the Colts, the Jags, and the Titans. We'll start with Tennessee. Jay, you pulled some stuff right here, and you put Will Levis is basically as bad as Deshaun Watson, but he stands alone on 3rd and 4th downs. In the second half, Levis Sports has a whopping negative .916 EPA per dropback, worse than the Dolphins by a considerable amount, and he is still 4th worst on 3rd and 4th down for an entire game in the NFL. But man, is Will Levis not good, Jay? This is a situation that's bad, and Calvin Ridley's pissed off. Hopkins is in all kinds of trade conversations. Tajay Spears banged up. The offensive line is shitty. About the only thing good going for the Titans right now is the defensive side of the ball and Tony Pollard. I have little confidence starting Calvin Ridley or DeAndre Hopkins, and you damn sure better not be starting Chigo Okonkwo for the Tennessee Titans. I've got little confidence. I do think the squeaky wheel will get some grease this Sunday, but it ain't going to be good grease. It's not going to be the good, fresh Crisco. It's going to be the grease that got recycled 3 times. It's brown. There's crumbs floating at the bottom. That's the type of grease that you're probably going to get with Calvin Ridley. But I would not feel good starting any Titan outside of Tony Pollard on a week-to-week basis, who I would feel great starting, Jay. And this is the last 3 games. You're not even going to see this player. This is the Indianapolis Colts pass catchers usage, right? Looks like you got a leader right here, Michael Pittman Jr. Jay Rich, 6.34, 14 fantasy points per game from week 4 to week 6. But nah, man, the tool is hiding the real leader, Jay. He's up here. Josh Downs, 7.78 Trinity score. 19.20 fantasy points per game from week 4 to week 6. This thing is for real with Josh Downs in this offense. And I think it's going to continue even with Anthony Richardson at the quarterback position. He moves different. If anybody's watching the actual games, he moves different. He's able to get in and out of his breaks at a different speed than the other pass catchers. And the other two guys, Pittman and Alec Pierce, do something a little different than Josh Downs. So I am 1,000% buying into the Josh Downs hype, regardless if it's Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco at the helm. Let's move to Houston and talk about their pass catchers as well. We saw Tank Dell and Joe Mixon back on the field this week. Again, much like we discussed with the San Francisco 49ers, probably to a lesser degree the New York Jets, this is just a good offense. It's a good offense that hasn't quite lived up, Jay, to the expectations that we had at the beginning of the season for Houston and C.J. Stroud, but they're still balling out, and you're going to start all three of those pass catchers every week. When all three are on the field, you're rolling out Nico, you're rolling out Dell, you're rolling out Diggs. Stop bitching and complaining about which one is the alpha versus the omega. The number one is Nico Collins, but it doesn't matter. Like, it matters because you want Nico, but you're still going to play Tank Dell. You're still going to play Stephon Diggs, and you just have to embrace the volatility that's probably going to come, where it's going to be a Nico and a Diggs week, or a Nico and a Dell week, or it might be a Dell and a Diggs week, but you're going to play all three of those guys. Joe Mixon being back, such a big boost to this offense. They should continue to get better as we go along. Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know what to say about this squad. I don't know what the true takeaway is. Because just when you think Gabe Davis is dead, he's the one that leads the team in receiving. And just when you think Tank Bigsby is going to be the guy to get the ball, he's doing kick returns and blocking punts and calling plays and not carrying the rock, and he doesn't get the ball, and it's all Dearness Johnson. Travis Etienne has the mysterious Davante Adams hamstring injury now. I don't quite know what the takeaway is for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jay. Like, I don't know. I'm still going to probably start Brian Thomas Jr. You're going to roll Evan Ingram out every single week.
Yep.
We'll see if Travis Etienne misses any extended period of time. Anything else you want to say about this not so exciting division of football?
Yeah, the Jaguars offensively are a bit of a mess. I think we would all agree that, especially because the running back position feels so in flux, but defensively, they are the worst defense in the NFL, basically, especially passing the ball. We talked this past week about how they're a bit of a pass funnel and just how good Caleb Williams was against them this week. A 0.321 drop back EPA per play allowed, Ray. Like, they are one of the worst in the league and on a historically bad pace at times. We saw Flacco absolutely cook them. We saw Stroud destroy them. We've now seen Caleb Williams play very, very well against them. It's just awful what this defense is right now, and they are playing at one of the worst rates in the NFL, and it doesn't help that their quarterback is struggling and their pass catchers are struggling as well. There's a lot of issues with this team. It seems like Doug Peterson is just about gone, and Ray, I think if they lose this week, they got the Patriots in London this week. I don't think Doug Peterson makes it on the flight home if he loses the Patriots.
He doesn't get into customs. They don't let him back in the U.S. They take his passport and
leave him there.
Yeah, leave him there.
I think he just has to. I think he's sleeping in London if he doesn't win that game on Sunday.
It's crazy because it felt like he was the Trevor Lawrence savior. What was it, a year ago? This is his second season, third season. It's a tough situation in Jacksonville, and I hear y'all. You know, Joe says truth is Tank is number 6 RB on PFF. ETN is 60-something. I'm with you. Why the hell are they playing around with Dearness Johnson? Like, just give the ball to Bigsby. And for those of you who are new to the Tank Bigsby experience, there was a world 4 years ago where in Devi land, the conversation was, who is the RB1 in 2023? Tank Bigsby, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Bijan Robinson? That was a real world thing. And I think at that time, Jay, because his freshman season at Auburn was so good, people were like, Tank Bigsby is the RB1 in the 2023 class. Just, we've been doing this for a long damn time. We've been doing it for a long time. All right, Jay, you're up. You got one more division. Where we going?
I got two more. I was thankful enough to delete all my notes on the NFC South, so I will be doing this strictly from memory. So give me some grace here.
I got you, baby. I got you.
We will start with the Atlanta Falcons because the biggest revelation, honestly, is Kirk Cousins and what he's done in this offense. Since week 2, because week 1 was a bit of a disaster for the Falcons. We all know that. Kirk Cousins was 6th in the NFL in EPA per dropback, which is phenomenal for all the pass catchers. And we've seen it from Darnell Mooney to Drake London, even Kyle Pitts being involved. This offense is getting better and better each and every week. And I bet you didn't know this, Ray. Kirk Cousins has 3 already in the season game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks. Better than obviously any quarterback in the NFL. The only player with 3 and the only player with 2 this season. Kirk Cousins is absolutely cooking. And you should be very excited for what you're doing on offense, because Zach Robinson has Kirk Cousins playing at the level we've seen him play in the past when he's in Minnesota. And I think this offense will only continue to get better as the running game continues to improve. Now let's move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because we got to talk about Baker Mayfield and what he is doing this season. This picture of Baker is ridiculous. Let's talk about how good Baker has been this year, because he is number 1, Ray, in the NFL in success rate. And that is really the key to why this Tampa Bay offense is so good. When you have a quarterback who is all as successful as Baker Mayfield is, 53.2%. We talked about how Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson are 52.6%. And this is all while having a yards per attempt of 5.5 yards, only ahead of Patrick Mahomes. So we talk about Patrick Mahomes and how he is this efficient quarterback who puts up fantasy points despite his average depth of target. That's actually what Baker Mayfield is. Baker Mayfield is a quarterback who has a very low depth of target, but is still hyper efficient and moving the ball down the field, all while, I believe, being 2nd in the NFL in passer rating and number 1 in passing touchdowns. It's not a fluke what Baker Mayfield is doing. He is very efficient right now and playing at an extremely high level. You could make the case, Ray, that he's a top 15 dynasty quarterback right now if you really wanted to. The way he's playing, he's got the contract, he has the weapons locked in, and he's using his legs, which he's never done, and that's also helping to add to his fantasy floor. We will move to the New Orleans Saints, because if I remember correctly, their defensive splits are very concerning, and the reason why is because they are awful against the run. When you play against the New Orleans Saints, you do have to be careful, because they are 2nd in the NFL with 10 interceptions, and they actually are pretty good defending the pass. And that's the reason why you want to target the run against the Saints. They are 5th worst in the NFL in EPA per rush. And so if you do have running backs you want to start against the Saints, you should be doing that. But be more concerned with the quarterbacks, because quarterbacks are struggling overall against the Saints. We did see Baker have a great game, but he also threw 3 interceptions. And so when you're targeting players against the Saints, target the running backs, maybe avoid some of the fringe QB2s. But offensively, the Saints are a bit of a mess, especially with Spencer Rattler. So I wouldn't be targeting too many of those guys, especially this week against the Bucs. So once again, or they already played they played Denver this week. So Bo Nix. Yeah, Bo Nix is the one who's going to go crazy on the Saints defense, but Javonte Williams could be a flexible option. And last but not least, the Carolina Panthers. I'll keep it short and sweet because you gave me this one. This defense is historically bad, not because they are the worst team in terms of EPA per play. They are not. That is the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. But they are allowing the most points in NFL history on a per game basis, 33.8, which if it held would break the record held by the 1981 Indianapolis Colts, who allowed 33.3 points per game. Start every single player you can against the Carolina Panthers, because they are going to continue to allow tons of fantasy points and tons of points overall.
Jay Rich, my boy just dropped a new mock. Do you want to talk about it a little bit? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to just
DP?
real quick?
Let's do it.
My boy Jordan Reed, good friend of mine, Jordan Reed. Shout out ESPN. Shout out Jordan Reed. Just dropped a 2025 mock draft, first round, and his predictions. You want me to just give you some of the fantasy relevant guys? Y'all want to hear it? Let's do it. All right.
Of course.
Number 1 overall pick going to the Cleveland Browns, Shedeur Sanders. Number 1 overall to Cleveland. Your New England Patriots have the number 2 overall pick. You know who they took, Jay?
Hopefully Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter to the New England Patriots at number 2 overall. Travis Hunter. All right, there was a trade. So the Carolina Panthers were 3, and they went Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State. So Bryce Young seems to be safe for now. There was a trade. The Raiders jumped up with the Jaguars and took Cam Ward at number 4. Cam Ward to the Raiders at 4. The New York Giants have a new quarterback of their future, Jay.
Oh.
They got a new quarterback from the SEC, Carson Beck. New quarterback for the New York Giants. All right, let's go down. The Saints get a new wide receiver. Tedoror McMillan goes to the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, let's go.
The Dallas Cowboys at 15 overall select Ashton Genty out of Boise
course
State.
they do. Of course they do.
Of course they do. The Denver Broncos take Luther Burden at 16.
Okay. That's a little high for Luther, I
Going
think.
down. I'm scrolling down, seeing if there's any more.
So only Tet, Luther, and
Wait,
if you
Pittsburgh
pick Travis
Steelers-
Hunter.
Pittsburgh Steelers
Oh, yeah.
at
Here
25.
we go. Fire me up.
Isaiah Bond, wide receiver out of Texas. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That would be a good pick.
Tampa Bay goes offense, and they replace Cade Otton and get Baker Mayfield. Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan.
Michigan. Oh, that'd be really good for them.
And we can't have a mock without the Kansas City Chiefs
No way.
going wide receiver, and they take Emeka Egbuka at 31 overall.
Oh, there you
Emeka
go.
goes to the
That's
Kansas
the perfect
City
pick.
Chiefs. There we go. All right, quick little break. Shout out to Jordan Reed. Check out the full mock. We've got no affiliation with ESPN. Where am I at?
Yeah.
Jay? Where am I at? Oh, AFC West.
AFC West.
What a segue. What a segue. Those Kansas City Chiefs, even though they're going to take Emeka Egbuka next year, my big takeaway for the Kansas City Chiefs, Jay, is that I am fine, comfortable, and will be firing up Juju Smith-Schuster without any kind of hesitation or reservation. Like, I'm firing up Juju. I'm not going to predict and say that he's going to have one of the type of games like he had last week or the last game that he played in 2 weeks ago where they were on a bye.
Yeah.
But he's been here before. He was Rashee Rice prior to Rashee Rice being drafted to replace Juju, and Juju just comes back to replace Rashee Rice. I think you're going to be just fine firing Juju Smith-Schuster up every single week from this point forward for as long as he's healthy, because we know Juju. He will give you a little bit, but he's probably going to take it away. So enjoy Juju Smith-Schuster while you have him. Let's move on to a more fantasy viable player, because there's really nobody else on this team that you want. Like, really, there are some deep cuts, some flex options, some wide receiver threes, but we're still in Brocktober, baby. And now that Davante Adams is gone, feed him. Jay Rich, this is my boy.
Yep.
I've been talking about Bowers for years. Even when he was drafted, all you damn Raiders fans, you ain't real. You're not real Raiders fans like I am, because they were upset and sick. Why did we draft this guy? We don't need a tight end. I was all about it. So my Raiders and Brock Bowers, that is the play moving forward. No freaking doubt about it. Let's go to the Los Angeles Chargers. And Jay, there was a lot of hype coming out of the bye that it was going to be Kamani Vidal season. It is not any Vidal season. He had a nice little play. I do think that he will play in the game and be on the field and get some opportunity. But it's J.K. Dobbins, Jay Rich. It's J.K. Dobbins. And as I'm watching the Chargers, I'm just going to tell you what it looks like to me, okay? This is what it appears to be to me, that they want Ladd McConkey to probably be something that he might not be. I think he's going to be a really solid number 2 complementary player, but I don't know. When I'm watching him, I just don't see like number 1 wide receiver, and I don't see a player that's going to stop the Los Angeles Chargers for trying to upgrade that position in the offseason some way, shape, form, or how. We also have Bo Nix, who, Jay, I'll just say he doesn't look as bad as he did at the beginning of the season. Still doesn't look great like an all-pro caliber player, but I think Denver might have a little something here. I think we shit on Bo Nix a little too much. The offensive environment right now isn't that great. They have a really good defense. They're still trying to figure out an inefficient rushing attack, and they don't have a lot of guys on the outside to make plays for him. But I like what Bo Nix is doing, Jay. He's using his legs. He's trying to get the ball to his playmakers. He got Courtland Sutton involved. From a fantasy perspective, and maybe not from a seasonal league, redraft, but dynasty, he just feels like one of those guys that will continue to get better, and you'll never look up and view Bo Nix as this all-pro player. But I like the progression that we're seeing out of Bo Nix, being real. It's not perfect. It's not great, but Denver's not perfect and Denver isn't great. I like what Bo Nix is doing every week. He's got a really strong defense to help him out as well. Those are my big takeaways coming out of week 6, moving into week 7 from the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of good points. And I did want to give out this shout out to Scott Barrett because he put this out on Twitter yesterday. Only one of 5 wide receiver. This one wide receiver has a 20% target share in every game, top 4 in yards per route run against man coverage, top 6 in his separation score against man coverage, and leads all players in missed tackles forced per touch, also top 15 in expected fantasy points per route run. That wide receiver is none other than Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey's issue is not so much his success, it's his volume, which we all kind of expected going in. But if for some reason the volume did go up, I'm sure the efficiency would go down. But to some extent, he has been quite good in terms of the advanced metrics. And then the other thing I did want to bring up is how bad the Raiders' rush defense is. It's a negative 0.416 per play rushing the football, which is worse than the past 8-year worst team, the 2019 Miami Dolphins, Ray, that I bet you didn't know this. Their leading rusher was Ryan Fitzpatrick with 243 rushing yards in 2019. I believe that was the last year that the Miami Dolphins were coached by Brian Flores. The Raiders also sport a nice minus 10 point differential, but in terms of the Broncos, they are playing like the Minnesota Vikings, but worse. Their defense is very good. Their offense is quite bad, but improving under Bo Nix. I think they will only continue to get better.
Patrick said it, back-to-back QB1 weeks, QB8 and QB9.
Great rushing floor.
Again, from a consistency, reliability, in-season 2024 standpoint, would I recommend Bo Nix as a top 12 option? No, but he is using his legs. He's getting the ball to his playmakers. I like the progression from Bo Nix so far. All right, Jay, you've got the NFC West, right?
Yeah, I will close out the NFC West rather quickly because we are running short on time, but we'll start with the Arizona Cardinals, who the biggest thing for them is their pass defense is atrocious. They have allowed the highest success rate in the NFL at 52% overall, but this stems really from their pass rate against quarterbacks, which is 57.8% success rate, which means almost 60% of the time they are gaining the necessary yardage to consider a successful attempt, which is 50% on first down, 70% of the yardage on second down, and 100% on third and fourth down. They are a pass funnel. They are playing awful in the back end, and you should be starting your quarterbacks against the Arizona Cardinals. The Los Angeles Rams are in a very similar boat. They are worse in rushing EPA and passing EPA per play than the Carolina Panthers, who we all know are one of the worst defenses in the NFL. It really is just honestly shocking, Ray, because despite all this, where Matthew Stafford is playing as one of the worst quarterbacks on a per drop back basis because of how bad that offensive line is protecting him, but at the same time, they have a top 12 unit in run blocking grade, and Kyren Williams is 4th in EPA per play running the football and number 1 in success rate. So even with this poor offensive line, which is actually blocking at a above average level, Kyren Williams is still getting it done. So at no point...
Where's all them people?
What's up?
Jerry Rich, where's all them people that said Kyren was dead? Where's all them people at? Y'all in the chat. It's corn season. Kyren ain't no good. Finish it out, Jay. Kyren ain't no good, right? Kyren's no good. It's going to be Blake Corum. Ray and Jay Rich, you're great. Blake's the better running back. Just check the film, Ray. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy, and I wish I could say that I was optimistic for the second half for the Rams, because I think there's a world where they could be pretty good when they come back, leaning on the running game, but having Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But honestly, you look at their schedule, it is like murderer's row. All these NFC West teams have ridiculously tough schedules. And as much as I want to say buy low on Matthew Stafford, he's going to be much better than he's been. It's very difficult to do right now. We're going to skip over the 49ers because much like the Lions, they're just a good team. All the metrics say they're good. Their record, of course, could be much better. But whether it's passing EPA, rushing EPA, it doesn't matter who they have in there. They are going to be a good team. The really big question for them is defensively in the second half. They are 22nd in EPA per play in the second half. They've been giving up leads in the second half, and that's their biggest concern. But they're going to be fine overall. So I will leave you on this, Ray. The Seattle Seahawks, I pulled some very interesting stats that I did not know walking in.
You like Seattle for some strange reason. I don't know why you love this team so much.
I don't love Seattle. I actually have been historically critical of this quarterback. But Geno Smith, Ray, as you like to say, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL.
You love him.
He's probably a buy low candidate right now.
Ugh.
He's QB 26 on KTC. Now, I did mention the tough schedules, and that's not going to change for Geno Smith. But in 2024, Ray, he ranks number 1 in pass attempts, pass completions, and passing yards. But he is 3rd worst in TD rate, only ahead of Matthew Stafford and Jacoby Brissett. And yes, he is even behind Deshaun Watson. Wow. He is currently on pace for over 750 pass attempts and 5,300 yards.
Good Lord.
He's thrown for 284 yards in each of his last 5 games, averaging over 300 yards a game. And so at worst, even if you don't believe that he is a buy low candidate, the volume he is giving to his pass catchers, Tyler Lockett is a weekly starter, and you could argue that JSN is as well, simply because of the passing volume that Seattle is doing weekly. And if you think his TD rate can go up from 2.3% to his career average of 4%, where it's been historically over the past 2 years in Seattle, then he can be a much improved quarterback and will probably throw for 30 touchdowns this season. And if you look at the schedule, he's probably going to have to, because they play in difficult games just about every week. So he's a guy who weekly could be giving you 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and does have a bit of rushing upside as well.
Man, I'm looking at this air yards for quarterbacks, their attempts, their air yards per attempt. There are 2 players in the NFL, only 2, that are under 6 air yards on their pass attempts. Do you know who those 2 players are?
JSN has to be one of them.
No, quarterbacks.
Oh, quarterbacks under what, sorry?
Under 6 yards, air yards on their pass
Oh, it's
attempts.
Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
What?
And one's good for fantasy and one's not, which is kind of interesting.
It's
right.
wild.
Baker's been good, and Mahomes has been awful.
Crazy. Yeah, like you said, with those takeaways from the West, pardon me, what do you think about Isaac Guerendo? Like, real talk. If Mason is a little banged up, are you rolling out Guerendo?
Man, unless the reports are really positive for Guerendo and really bad for Mason, but Mason's supposed to play. And I think that they probably want him to play. So like even on Friday, it was reported that he's day to day, and we'll see if he practices today. I doubt he practices today, but he should be back on Thursday, if not Friday. Because it seems like it's more of a pain management issue for his AC joint and that shoulder. And because he's not a wide receiver, you're not worried about him reaching up to catch passes, which is the main concern for those AC joint type of injuries, is can they reach and actually get those passes extended outside of their body, and obviously absorbing the hits as well. So I honestly don't think I would start Guerendo unless Mason was ruled out prior to the game.
Okay.
I think that's the only situation where I'd start him. Otherwise, I think he's just a backup at that point. And they'll use Mason until he gets hurt.
There it is. There it is. Hit the music, Jay. That's the show. Hit the music. Appreciate y'all being in. 32 teams, 32 takeaways. Well, there's a lot of takeaways, a lot more than 32. But we went through all 32 teams, talked through the Adams trade, the Cooper trade, went through a damn 25 rookie mock draft. We did a lot in this one. So only thing we ask is hit the thumbs up button, like the content. And if you found this show actionable and or entertaining, subscribe, help our channel grow. We appreciate you being here. One more time, make sure you check out Dynasty Theory, 5 players to buy right now live on the channel. My 2025 rookie mock draft every Monday, Mock Mondays on the channel. And tonight, 8:30 Eastern live right here on DD Fantasy Football. Me, Scott, and Shane, wide receivers, tight ends, usage, Trinity, live. Be there. It's going to be a good time. Hope y'all have a fantastic Wednesday. Good day. Good day. Make sure you check out my show with Josh Norris on Josh and Hayden's Fantasy Channel, RB Rankings for the week. Jay Rich and I will be back on Friday. Have a Freaky Friday show with y'all. Round out the week as we head into week 7. Y'all have a beautiful Wednesday, and we'll see y'all on Friday. We out. Peace.